So in chapter number 6 tissue we continue, that is the connective tissue. So first one, that is blood. Okay. So in this activity, take a blood, drop of blood on slide and observe different cells present in it under the microscope. So here, blood is a type of connective tissue. Blood is a type of connective tissue, and the cells of connective tissues are loosely spaced and embedded in a intercellular matrix. Here, the matrix may be jelly-like, fluid-dense, or the rigid. Okay, it is the matrix may be jelly-like, fluid-dense, or the rigid, and the nature of the matrix differ in concordance with the function of the particular connective tissue. Here, that is blood has a fluid, that is a liquid matrix called the plasma. Okay, blood has a liquid or fluid matrix called the plasma, and which, that is RBCs and WBCs. That is RBC means red blood cells and WC means white blood cells, and platelets are suspended. The plasma contains proteins, salts, as well as hormones. Plasma contains proteins, salt, and hormones. Blood flows and transport gases, digested food, hormones, and waste material to different parts of the body. Okay, so here, as you know, that blood has a liquid matrix called the plasma, in which, that is RBCs and WBCs, that is red blood cells and white blood cells, and platelets are suspended. The plasma contains proteins, salts, as well as hormones. Blood flows and transport gases, digested food, hormones, as well as waste material to different parts of the body. Now, second one, we discuss about the bone. So, figure B, it is the bone. So, bone is another example of the connective tissue. Bone is another example of connective tissue, and it forms the framework that support the body. Okay, it support the body. The main function of this bone is support the body. Okay, and also anchors the muscles and support the main organ of the body, and is a strong and non-flexible tissue. It is a strong and non-flexible tissue. Bone cells are embedded in a hard matrix that is composed of calcium and phosphorus compound. Okay. So another repeat, that is bone is another example of connective tissue, and it supports the body and anchors the muscles and support the main organs of the body. It is a strong and non-flexible tissues. Bone cells are embedded in a hard matrix and composed of calcium and phosphorus compound. Now, two bones can be connected to each other, that is by another type of connective tissue known as the ligament. Okay, two bones. Now, can we observe? Now, okay. So we discuss about the first one, bone. So Bone is a connective tissue having the hard matrix made up of calcium and phosphorus compounds. Bones make the structural framework of the body and provide the space of attachment of the muscles. And also we conclude that is ligament. So ligament is the connective tissue that join the two bones, and it has very little matrix and thus is elastic and flexible, but it is a very strong. Okay, ligament is the connective tissue that joins the two bones. It has very little matrix and thus is elastic as well as flexible, but it is a very strong. Now here that is the muscles. Muscles are connected two bones by the tendons. Muscles are the two bones by the tendons. And that is they are fibrous in nature and has limited flexibility, but it has much strength. Then another, that is figure C. It is a cartilage. So cartilage has solid matrix. Cartilage has a solid matrix, that is hyaline matrix, and the chondrocytes we can be observed in this figure C. Okay, so cartilage has solid matrix composed of proteins as well as sugars. It helps to smoothen at the bone ends and also seen in nose, ear, trachea, and larynx. It gives the flexibility and helps in joining the two bones. So cartilage has solid matrix composed of proteins as well as sugar. It helps to smoothen the bone ends, also seen in nose, ear, trachea, and larynx. It gives the flexibility and helps in joining the two bones. Now another, that is areolar tissue. So figure D is the areolar connective tissue. So this type of tissue present between the skin as well as muscle, around nerves and the blood vessels, and also in the bone marrow. Okay, areolar connective tissue present between the skin and the muscles and around nerves and the blood vessels, and also in bone marrow. Now in the bone marrow there is a spongy tissue between the hip and thigh bones. Bone marrow is been observed, that is spongy tissue. It is a spongy tissue between the hip and thigh bone. Now another type, that is a tissue. It is the adipose connective tissue. Adipose connective tissue. Now this type of tissue, it is below the skin and between the internal organs. This type of tissue, that is adipose connective tissue, is can be observed below the skin and between the internal organs. The tissue is filled up with the flat globules. It is a flat globules, and by storing the fats it acts as an insulator. So in the figure, that is a fat droplets we can be observed. Okay, so fat droplet is a flat globules. Okay, so below the skin and between the internal organs the tissue is filled up with the flat globules, that is a flat droplets. By storing the fats it acts as a insulator. So in this figure, that is we observe fat droplets as well nucleus, okay, in adipose connective tissue, and this type of tissue will be observed below the skin and between the internal organs, and this tissue is filled with the fat droplets, and by storing the fat it acts as a insulator. So these are all the connective tissue. Again I repeat, that is type of the tissue, that is a first one, that is a blood. Okay, so here, that is the cells are loosely packed in connective tissue. As we previously discussed about, the cells are the loosely packed intercellular matrix is present in which different type of the cells are embedded. Nature of matrix differ as per the function. Now in this different type of connective tissue, blood, areolar connective tissue, adipose tissue, cartilage, and bone, ligament, tendon, etc. This type of the connective tissue. So first one, that is the blood. So blood is a fluid connective tissue, and the fluid plasma, different type of blood cells are the located, such as RBCs and WBCs. RBC means the red blood cells, and white blood cell, that is WC means white blood cells, blood platelets. In the fluid plasma, there is a hormones, salt, proteins, respiratory gases, nitrogenous waste, and products can be obtained in the blood. Now, next one, that is a tendon, that is muscles are connected to bones by the tendons, and they are fibrous in nature and has limited flexibility, but it has much strength. While the bone is a connective tissue. Bone is a connective tissue having the hard matrix made up of calcium and phosphorus compounds. Bones make the structural framework of the body and provide the space of attachment of the bodies. And ligament is the connective tissue that joins the two bones. Okay, two bones joined with the ligament. So ligament is the connective tissue that joins the two bones, and it has very little matrix, and thus it is a elastic and flexible, but it is a very strong. Ligament is very strong. Then after the cartilage, in figure C we observe the cartilage figure. So cartilage has solid matrix. Cartilage has a solid matrix composed of the proteins as well as the sugars, and it helps to smoothen the bone ends, and also seen in nose, ear, trachea, and larynx. Okay, this type of cartilage we obtain, we observe in nose, ear, trachea, and larynx, and it gives the flexibility and helps in joining the two bones. The next one, that is a areolar connective tissue. So this tissue present between the skin as well as muscle. Okay, figure D, that is a areolar connective tissue. This type of tissue present between the skin and the muscles. Now around the nerves and the blood vessels. Okay, and also in the bone marrow. So here, what is the meaning of bone marrow? Bone marrow is a spongy tissue. It can be observed between the hip and thigh bone. Okay, then next one, it can be obtained the adipose connective tissue. It observed below the skin and between the internal organs. Okay, adipose connective tissue obtained below the skin and between the internal organs. And the tissue is filled up with the flat globules. Flat globules mean fat droplets. Okay, and by storing the fats, it acts as a insulator. It acts as an by storing the fats, it acts as an insulator. So